word says, I will lift up my eyes. That means I'm going to look up to the hills, from whence comes my help. And the Messiah, in this particular verse, the Messiah is not saying that his help comes from the hills. Amen. But he's just lifting up his eyes to the hills where his God resides. Ain't no help in the hills, but it's from the one who lives in the hills, God. He's high, his word says he's high and what? Lifted up. So that means he's above all and all. Why do I look to those hills? Because my help comes from you, Lord. Amen. That's where my help comes. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. In other words, my help comes from the Lord who made the hills. I'm not looking to the hills. I'm looking to the one who made the hills. And in fact, all of heaven and earth he made. Why? You will not suffer. You're not going to suffer my foot to be moved or to slip. Amen. He who keeps you will not slumber. He doesn't get sleepy. Like the disciples told us, boys, you go there and wait while I go pray. Come back, they was asleep. Amen. God does not slumber, does not sleep. Amen. This is the word that we want to touch on briefly this morning. And because I'm saying I will look unto the hills, amen, from which cometh my help. I think about how much better, amen, life would have been, amen, if I would just remember, if I remember church. Look to the hills. Amen. Now, the imagery, when I see this psalm, the imagery of this psalm is meant to give us this morning a sense of the comprehensive and widespread care of God for those who look unto him. A lot of us in trouble now because we haven't looked. Come on, help me. That's why you're suffering now. That's why you're struggling now, because you haven't looked to him enough. I must admit now that some of the most trying times and challenging times in my life happened when I failed to look up to. Are y'all following me? Always the image of, amen, always the image of, amen, of God is always high and lifted up. That's the image of God. His train fills the temple. He high and lifted up. In our spiritual walk today with God, we have always been told, even in our youngest years, to look up to God. Because he sits high. I heard it prayed in some prayers right here in church. He sits high, but he looks low. He guides my footsteps wherever I go. Did you know that our troubles always make us look to God? You're going to get hit so heavy with burdens and trouble until you may not have been looking to it, but you will. Yeah, keep living. You will. Today, I can think back on my life and think how much better I would have been if I had only remembered to look more to. That's when I failed. That's when I don't know. You may not admit it, but I'm going to admit it. That's when I messed up, when I wasn't looking. That's when all of us messed up. When we stopped looking to Jesus and started looking at the crowd and started looking at what folk were saying, that's when we messed up. If I, for a subject, if you will, if I just looked up more, if we just looked up more, it shouldn't be when we had our backs to the wall. It shouldn't be when we got our backs on the hospital bed that we look up. We should have been looking up before then. But the The word says, I will lift up my eyes. I will look unto the hills from which comes my help. This morning we're going to look at this book of Psalms, the 121st division. Amen. 120, as I look at it, studied it this week, this particular psalm is written to speak to your heart, my heart. It's written to speak to the simple, the poetic formula is meant to hit home, to hit you in an impactful way. I will look, or I will lift up, I will look to the hills. I'm not saying you're not going to look anywhere else. But the hills, from the hills comes my strength. That's what my strength is. We ought to look more to the hills, church. That's what I'm saying. The imagery of this psalm is meant to give us a sense of the comprehensive care of God for those who look to him. He says, I'll take care of you if you look to me. Just look to me. When your way gets dark, when you're having trouble in your life, just look to me. I'll take care. But when I look back this morning in my life, almost 80 years now, when I have found myself in trouble, I can look at it and trace it back to find out that I wasn't looking to God enough. I should not be old to say that. So I'm trying to help somebody that's young. I believe this is what the writer of the text would have us to understand today. I don't care what it is, just look up. I know it's heavy, I know it's hard, I know your sweetheart left you and took your bank, stripped out the bank, your dog run off with it. I know all that. And some of them old blues songs, I listen to them, don't say them. I listen to, they sure are sad. That fool talking about when my baby done left me, but you should have been looking to. Amen. This will keep us, looking to Jesus, will keep us it'll keep us when we just look to the hill. I know he's there because he made them, when you look at him, the majesty of the hills. Who could have done that? And I don't know if anybody here ever seen mountains. I'm talking about mountains. Who could have done that? So if he made them, when I'm down here in this valley low and going through all this stuff, I ought to have a sense of, amen. I ought not be like a hog. You know, hogs, when I was growing up out there in the country, hogs, amen, they'd be up under a tree, acorn tree, eating acorns. Eat all day long, acorn falling, hit them upside the head, hit them all on the back. They never look up. We shouldn't be like that. Our help is coming down. Blessings are falling on us. Showers of blessings are falling on us. We ought to have sense enough to look up to Jesus. Look up to him. Keep that. Okay, well, this will keep us if we look up to it. This will keep us when we look to the hills. Looking to the hills will keep our hearts from sinking. Looking to the hills will keep our knees from trembling. Looking to the hills will keep our feet from slipping. And looking to the hills will keep our hearts from hanging down. It's impossible to say what will happen to us today, tomorrow. Amen. It's impossible to say. But I can say this. Whatever happens, if I keep my eyes trained on him. Yeah. If I just be sensible enough to look to him and trust him in times and when things are not going haywire. If I trust him in the good times, I trust him in the somber times, or I trust him when the trouble comes. Because he'll fix, even as a trouble fixer. Those who call him a mind regulator, he'll do it, y'all. He'll do it. Just look to the hill. Our hearts will keep from sinking. Amen. Whatever we do this morning after this message is over, amen. Boy, when you're in the hospital and you think this might be it, if you just look up to the hill. Amen. if properly attended to, if that is, we properly attend to this fact of looking up to the hills, amen, God will supply all our needs. He said he would, didn't he? I'll supply all your needs according to what my riches and all the riches that he had. I'll supply all your needs according to them, Springhill, if you just look up. He will secure us against all the dread that may be waiting for us out there. He will make us more than a match, amen, for all our foes and fears if we just look up to Jesus. Oh, brothers and sisters, this morning, if you're going to go through the songs that I'm going through, I started in Jesus, I'm going through. If you're going to go through today, can I just tell you, look up. Look up and hear Jesus saying to you, do not be afraid, I'm with you. If we look up, Are you discouraged? Look up. Are you despondent this morning and something heavy on your heart? Look up. Are you downtrodden and weary? Look up. Are you depressed? Don't know where to turn to? Look up. This 121st Psalm has been one of my favorites for many, many years. Amen. I suspect it's been one of your favorites too. It's one of the staples of our faith. You know, the staple holds stuff together when you staple it, right? Looking up to Jesus will hold your stuff together. Amen. Yeah, we learned earlier. We learned earlier. Should have learned earlier. Amen. Put it that way. We should have learned earlier. Because the old folk told us. Some of us didn't listen. We should have learned early and repeat often, especially in times of trouble. In times of trouble, I will lift up mine eyes to the hills. For whence cometh my help? The poetry rolls off the tongue, in poetic point of view, rolls off the tongue, especially when you revert back. Amen. And the words resound in your ear. I will look to the hills. Amen. What does this mean? What does this mean? And how does it speak to us today? Where does your help come from? Don't come from Walmart. Oh, y'all spend too much time at Walmart now. No. Amen. Where does your help come from? Amen. That's what it means. Where does your help come from today? Well, when I first heard this song in Sunday school as a boy, I pictured, this mountain, looking to the hills, looking to this mountain, symbolizing the omnipresence, the all presence of God, the majesty of God. That's where I looked at imposing, immovable, the mountain. Look up to God. Well, did you know that mountain stands for strength? Mountain stands for strength. Mountain stands for stability. Mountain stands for dominance. Mountain stands for power. When you look up, you don't want to look up no weakling. You don't want to look up to something that's not stable. You don't want to look up to something that's not dominant. You don't want to look up to anything that doesn't have power. Look up to God. To stand on top of a mountain, I don't know if any of you ever had the opportunity to do it. I have. Stand on the top of a mountain is like standing on top of the world. First mountain I stood on, I'm just looking here at all of this. Oh, can you imagine down in the valley? All this, I'm way up here. Mountains are so big and we're so small in comparison to a mountain. So naturally, when I heard the words, I will lift my eyes to the hills, I thought of God's dominance and domain over all creation. As far as I can remember, that's what we were taught. To look up, to look to the hills from which comes your help. My wife oftentimes tells me today, look up, don't look down. You're looking down too much, amen. And somebody told me, he who goes through life looking down will wind up with a pocket of buttons and pennies at the end of life. That's all you're going to find looking down. The jewels, the diamonds, the gold, it's up. You got to look up. In the words of the song, he got the whole world in his hand. That's why in this King James version of the Bible, the opening words are translated, I will lift mine eyes unto the hills from which cometh my help. The reason I'm looking up is because that's where my help is. someone look up. Amen. It's not a question, but a statement. It didn't say, are you going to look up? It says, I will. Where does your help come from? It comes from, amen, things that, Lord, where does your help come from? When things go contrary. Where's your help come from? In life, when you're struggling, where does your help come from? When a relationship begins to sputter and spin out of control, where does your help come from? When your teenage son and daughter starts getting smart and running with the wrong crowd, where does your help come from? When your work becomes a drudgery and you hate going to work, where does your help come from? When the loved one dies, when you're in the hospital room flat on your back, where do your help come? When you suffer a crisis of faith and find it hard to pray because you think God was not there when you needed him, where does your help? When you wonder to yourself, things are so bad and so black, so dreary. When you wonder to yourself, does God really care anyway? Issues like these are too common in our lives. Where does your help come from? I've heard some preachers preaching and they get to the stage where they want to hoop a little bit. He said, I'm waiting for my help. Y'all remember that? Where does your help come from? Amen. Your help does not come from a bottle. Hello? Your help does not come from a pill. Your help does not come from a particular menu item. I love me some peach cobbler. But that's not where help comes. Well, what happened here? Well, let me go back. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. We cannot read this psalm without talking about the author, the man who wrote it. King David. It appeared that David wrote this psalm after he was king, which means it was after he had spent a lot of time in the hills. Amen. What happened? What happened in those hills, David? For years, maybe as many as 10 or 15 years, David had been hidden in those very hills, running from a king who sought to kill him. The Lord hid David in the cleft of the cliff. Amen. King waiting outside to kill him, and David waiting inside. So at this point in his life, he knew where his help came from. He saw his life flash before his eyes. He remembered moving from one hill to another. He remembered moving from one cave to another. David remembered hiding in the back of the cave. Amen. And David looked to those hills because he had been in the hills and the help that he needed had seen him through his hills. He saw despair and grief and darkness and hopelessness in the hills, but God came and rescued him in the hills. When he looked again to those hills, he saw something more. He saw protection in the hills. He saw deliverance in the hills. He saw safety in the hills. Amen. In those hills, David knew the presence of God. Well, when David became king, he wanted to remember that even in the darkest places, God was still there. That no matter where he would be in this kingship thing, that God would be there still protecting him. Amen. So he remembered, and he wanted people to know. He wanted to remember, even as he sat on the throne, that the same Lord, amen, who had helped him in the hills, who had helped him get out of the hills, was able to keep him in these heels, because heels come in different shapes and form. Amen. Somebody right here and now, it's right here this morning. Amen. You may be in some heels. You may be coming out of some heels, or you're either going into some heels. But you know what God did for you when you were in the heels. Can anybody remember? Amen. When you were down and out and the world was going about its business. Do you remember what God did? Amen. Well, Kurt Carr, somebody may know, Kurt Carr talks about this in his song, I Almost Let Go. When Kurt Carr was in his heels, when he was struggling in his heels, he said, I almost let go. I felt like I just couldn't take life anymore. Have you ever been there? My problem held me bound. Depression, he said, weighed me down. But God held me close, so I wouldn't let go. I'm glad God's mercy kept me when I didn't have sense enough to look up to the hills. I almost gave up when that heavy one hit me, that heavy hill hit me. Amen. I lost all of my finances. I lost all of my prestige. I lost all my power. I lost all. But Jesus came and grabbed me. That's what Kirk said. And he held me close, so I wouldn't let go. I'm glad about it. God's mercy kept me, so I wouldn't let go. I'm glad. I'm glad. So I'm here today. I'm here today because God, he kept me alive when I should have been dead. God, only because of his grace woke me up this morning with an alarm clock. He started me on my way. Hey, I wouldn't let go. He kept me. He kept me. I know that. I remember that. He kept me. He kept me not because of anything I did. Amen. Amen. For Jesus, the heels, he looked to where the heels of the cross. That's why that song has so much impact in Christianity. First of all, it says on a heel. Lord, on a hill far away. Amen. Amen. On a hill. Do you know that hill? It's on Calvary's hill. On a hill. Amen. Far away came all my help. Amen. He died. The old priest, he hung there. He hung there. He hung there. His head and locked his shoulder. But his help came. Amen. His help came. Jesus said, and if I be lifted up from the earth, I'll draw all men unto me. Yes, if I just had looked up more, I would have been better today. If I would have looked up more, maybe I would have had a head full of hair today. If I would have looked up more. I almost let go. But God kept me. And as a result of him keeping me, I started looking to him. I'm not one of those persons that all this stuff that I've come into, all this goodness that I have around me, where did that come from? Yeah. I recognize the fact that all my help comes from the Lord. Yes, I'm here today. And I'm well today because he kept me. I'm alive today. I'm alive not because of anything I've done, but all because his grace. Grace woke me up this morning. Grace started me on my way. I'm glad that God wouldn't let me let go. My hand held on, and he kept me. But how much more? How much more? Or how much better shall I say, would life have turned out for me, church, if I had only had sense enough to look up more? To look up more. I read an article this week in association with this message, and I said I wasn't going to repeat it, but it just came to my mind. A man was in the armed forces during the Germany, he was in Germany, stationed in Germany, and he was just so inspired by Germany. He said that if he made it back home, that he would see to it that his wife had an opportunity to come see Germany. And as fate would have it, they were able to go back and visit Germany. They went to this hotel and checked in at the desk, and the desk told them, room 152. So they go upstairs to whatever floor. One would be on the main floor, but they went up to it must have been another number. But they went up, walking down the hall, all looking on doors. Couldn't find no room. Couldn't find me. He said, something wrong. He looked right on the side of the door, side of the door, top of the door, couldn't find it. So they were getting ready to go downstairs and tell the clerk, how are you supposed to know what room to go to? They don't know. And so something told them to look up. And they looked up. And in Germany at this time, all the room numbers were above not where they are in the United States. You got to really look up to see the room number. And he said, oh, what a fool we're going to look like. So we gone downstairs and told them we couldn't find it out. What a fool some people in life going to wind up. Because they just didn't. Amen. I didn't think I was going to get a chance to share that with you because I thought my time was going to run out. But I still got time. I was already going on. Amen. We're going to extend the invitation to discipleship. I got 2 minutes and 25 seconds left. Amen. I'm trying not to keep you longer than 30 minutes. That's hard. That's hard. Amen. You may be going to rest this morning. I would like to say to you, you may not know Jesus, the Lord of your life, but I know him. I know him. If you want to get to know him, you can come right now. You can come right now. While the blood runs warm in your veins, you can come right now. You know what? Is there one today? Is there one today? Is there one today? Thank you. You may be seated. You may be seated. Thank you. Separate the right from the wrong. Separate the right from the wrong. Separate the right from the wrong. Someday